each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Okay. Yeah. It says that we're going to be in alcohol, the Big Book 562, but that's just where they list the traditions. So we're going to be in the 12 by 12 today. Tradition 12. I'm not sure where I'm going to talk on it, but doesn't look like it's very long, so I may go ahead and do the whole thing. We will see. We will see. Before I get started, I'd like to talk a little bit about like and love. I hear a lot of people assert the fact that they love everyone. And I understand that. I certainly get that. It's a freedom that comes with AA that allows other people to be who they are without me condemning them or passing judgment, making assumptions. See, it's quite often here that eventually, if you listen to me long enough, there's going to be something I say that pisses you off. It's just going to happen. See, I'm this thing called a human being, and so, but this year I'm not planning on fooling around with anybody that doesn't support me and what it is that I do. I know that sounds pretty selfish, but there's just been too many side things. I think my cats have been eating on my. Now that's just wear and tear, right? But when it comes to love, I do what I can to love everybody. So I'm gonna make us think a little bit more on that. Do you like them? Because I can love somebody and not like them. I can. And, the anonymity gears towards principles with 4 personalities. But I'm going to read the book portion part first. So, yeah. I'm also probably be cutting down on these. So, not going to get rid of them. There's too many rewatchers. So, but at the holidays and feeling lonely when that number is 0, it makes it a little harder. So, I'm just going to go ahead and get past that and let it go. There's too many people out there that are willing to take an honest look at what's actually going on. So, all right, let's get started. Welcome to Daily Trudge. My name is Dion. I will be your host. Good morning, Leisure. It is good to see you. I hope you had a great holiday. If you're here, please say hello like Leisure is doing. And whether you're watching the live or the rewatch. And good stuff, man. I'm just saying that. Good stuff. Good stuff. So, all right. So I'm going to read here first, and then I'm going to get into the 12 by 12. So, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all of our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities. Tradition 12 became important early in my sobriety, and along with the 12 steps, it continues to be a must in my recovery. I became aware after I joined the fellowship that I had personality problems, so that when I first heard it, the tradition's message was very clear. There exists an immediate way for me to face with others my alcoholism, the attendant anger, defensiveness, offensiveness. I saw Tradition 12 as being a great ego deflator. It relieved my anger and gave me a chance to utilize the principles of the program. All the steps in this particular tradition have guided me over the decades of continuous sobriety. I'm grateful to those who were here when I needed them. Not sure what anonymity had to do with all that. Not sure what anonymity had to do with that, but I'm just making a joke. It was a good reading, like this part, and it attended to my anger, defensiveness, and offensiveness. See, you're not really going to get angry at what it is that I say. You're offended by what I'm bringing up. See, the truth sucks. It's hard, man. And when you speak nothing but truth, okay, I just put it by, I have a lot of passerbys in my life. And yeah, I'm not going to be getting attached unless you're around for a little bit now. So, just the way it's going to be. It's a self-defense thing. Boundaries. So, you see, it can get exciting, when people show up and things are moving forward, and so we can't get caught up in that. Each day is an individual day in which there's got to be success, right? So the spiritual substance of anonymity is sacrifice. See, and that's where the piece that is missing that I'm hearing. People don't want to sacrifice, or they're being very particular. I gotta get it. I understand. It's kind of like in chapter 12 when it says it's when and how to give. That means you got to learn how and when. Because AA's 12 traditions repeatedly ask us to give up our personal desires for the common good, we realize that the sacrificial spirit, well symbolized by anonymity, is the foundation of them all. It is AA's proved willingness to make these sacrifices that gives people their high confidence in the future. So what is the anonymity? All right, you can recover out loud as you want. That's not what it's saying. Okay, but I would be careful on what you're saying when you're recovering out loud. If you watch people skydiving and living their best life, but what I don't hear is God. What I don't hear is higher power. What I don't hear is help the next person, freely received, freely give. These are the things that are missing. And without them, there is no sacrifice. Right? Now, we alcoholics take these words in a bad connotation because, well, our minds are geared towards negativity. And quite often we have to get ourselves out of that negative connotation by using something positive. Okay? So let's look up the word sacrifice. Definition of sacrifice.
Here's the definition of sacrifice: an act of slaughtering an animal or person, or surrendering a possession as an offering to God or to a divine or supernatural figure.
It went a little too far for me. Okay, we're not going to be sacrificing people, places, or things. What are we sacrificing? Time. Your time. You might have to sacrifice some of your money. Not usually, though. Not usually. But time. See, it's about giving up your personal desires, and understanding about giving back to the group is kind of where it's at. But in the beginning, let's talk a little bit more about anonymity. Okay. So when it comes down to it, if you're going to speak to somebody outside of the program, I do this quite often because they're like, now, are you representing AA? And I tell them, no, I am not. I'm not representing AA. Nobody does that. What is that? That's a chance for me to educate. Nobody, I'm like, nobody speaks for AA as a whole. What we are is, I'm just a guy in North Glen trying to help. all this stuff. Good morning, Becky. It's good to see you. You know, so, and what am I doing? Well, I'm sacrificing my personal time to talk to detoxes so they'll start calling the AA hotline. There it is. Good. I don't get paid for that portion. No. I will not put hours down when I do AA stuff, even though central office should be doing this stuff. But, you know, it's either argue with them that it's an outside issue or go do it. Who cares where the credit comes from? It needs to be done. That's all. So, and what is that? That is another sacrifice. I don't need the prestige behind it. I don't need the, not saying it isn't nice to hear, but I don't need all those things because I know what's going to happen. I know what I'm going to get out of it because I've been through it before. I have. So, all right. So when it comes to anonymity, really what we're saying is you can't tell other people's stories. Got to be very careful. A lot of times you'll hear me use examples, and I'm towing a line there sometimes. I'm towing a line. Okay. So, but in the beginning, anonymity was not born of confidence. It was a child of our early fears. Our first nameless groups of alcoholics were secret societies. New prospects could only find us through a few trusted friends. The bare hint of publicity, even for our work, shocked us. Though ex-drinkers, we still thought we had to hide from public distrust and contempt. You know, it's a stigma. It's what we call it now. We call it stigma. They called it stigma back then, too. It's one of the only words that really made it through all these through all these generations of slang. Okay. And we're not going to write the big book in slang for you. Sorry. I was muted. See, it does that, and I got to be careful. So, all right. You didn't miss anything while I was muted there. So, but I'll keep an eye out for it. Good morning, Amber. It's good to see you. Yes, we were a secret society, and sometimes stigma makes it hard for us to accept it. You know, I hear a lot of people now that saying, there's a lot of videos saying, you know, why is it? Yeah, I know. My sound disappeared. I got it back. Was working. 12-second lag. I hear a lot of people saying, you know, why is it when it comes to alcohol, it's the only thing that's forced upon us? You know, when we say we don't want mayonnaise, you know what? I'm going to tell you something. More people give me shit about my eating than they did my drinking. I understand that there's some peer pressure, but as you get older, if you have people in your life that are alcoholic, they don't really want you around when you get sober, okay? It's bullshit, and they're creating more stigma. Fighting stigma and complaining about that is stigma. Yeah, sure is. Just like women's rights hurts women's rights. That was a bad example. Okay. But in this case, yeah, when you promote stigma, good or bad, you're promoting stigma. You're causing an argument. And what are we doing? Well, we stop fighting everything and everyone. I can tell you something. If you're a good example, nobody's going to ask you. They will fear you. So stop it. So I don't want to fucking hear it. Then get rid of them. Then stop talking to them if they want you to drink all the time. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it doesn't happen like we're saying it does. We are creating those problems in our head. Now, one person in my life forced me to drink. So stop it. All right. And I mean that in a good way. Okay. Some parts of AA are still a secret society. Okay. Do you know how to get to a pilot's AA meeting? No, you do not. Neither do I. And you will never find out how. Why? Because you are not in the union. You will never, ever find out. Doctors, actors, people that are popular or in a position of very severe trust. Okay? Those are still secret societies. And they should be. They should be. When the big book appeared in 1939, we called it Alcoholics Anonymous. Its forward made this revealing statement. It's important that we remain anonymous because we are too few at the present to handle the overwhelming number of appeals which may result from this publication. Being mostly business or professional folk, we could not very well carry our occupations in such an event. Between these lines, it is easy to read our fear that large numbers of incoming people might break our anonymity wide open. Okay, now when it first started, there was a number like 200 personal appeals came in. Well, it was just Bill and another person. They never say who it is. It was probably Lois. Okay. Well, you ever write you got to write 200 handwritten letters. See, now we have the people to answer those overwhelming appeals. Yes, we do. Okay. So that part is really no longer true. But that is why in the beginning, now we're in a place where a lot of people are not feeling safe. Right? And it's a combination of things. Not going to go into that here. And it's one of the reasons I started the grassroots meeting, because it's solid AA. It's all it is. Okay? So it's good news. It's coming. It's coming. Right? We're gonna be community resource center is okay, and they ain't gonna charge us jack shit. Northglenn outpatient and Thornton outpatient is where we're going to be holding in-person meetings, the grassroots meetings. And those will probably be hybrid. That'll work a lot better than the Henderson Church, because people don't know where the Henderson Church is. They hear Henderson and they're like, oh, is that way out east? I'm like, no, it's 2 miles that way. All right. As AA groups multiplied, so did anonymity problems. Enthusiastic over the spectacular recovery of another brother alcoholic, we sometimes discuss those intimate and harrowing aspects of his case meant for his sponsor's ear alone. The aggrieved victim would then rightly declare that his trust had been broken, when such stories got into circulation outside of AA, the loss of confidence in our anonymity promise was severe. It frequently turned people from us. Clearly, every AA member's name and story, too, had to be confidential if he wished. This was our first lesson in the practical application of anonymity. And there we are, sacrificing again. This is sacrifice again. We're storytellers, man. I am. I tend to embellish in my stories, things like that. You bet. Well, I used to. I don't do that really anymore. Because now anymore, storytelling for me is just, they're war stories and stuff. So, but I will use it as experience, right? But imagine you tell your sponsor something, and then 2 days later, somebody comes back to you. They're like, great job on overcoming. And would you lose confidence? You sure fucking would. You cannot tell other people's stories. It's hard, right? And even now, as I'm thinking about it, some of my examples kind of do that. And maybe I need to become better at that. Yeah. Maybe I need to stop saying words like sponsee. Yeah. See, we're always learning. We make mistakes, But the thing is, when you do things like this, your mistakes here will be used against you. And then it'll even come up in AA meetings. Right? All right. With characteristics in temperance, however, some of our newcomers cared not at all for secrecy. They wanted to shout AA from the housetops, and did. Alcoholics Barely Dry rushed about bright-eyed, buttonholing anyone who would listen to their stories. Others hurried to place themselves before microphones and cameras. Sometimes they got distressingly drunk and let their groups down with a bang. They had changed from AA members into AA show-offs. I probably don't need to say much on that, do I? I mean, that's like prevalent. It's so prevalent. Yes. No. Yeah. Social media is kind of a two-edged sword for me, double-edged sword for me. Of course, all swords are double-edged. No, they're not. That's a lie. Sabers are not double-edged. But where, I utilize social media so that I can reach other people around the world, but it's so full of crap that it's, good luck finding me, because I don't promote, I don't show off, I don't do any of that. I barely even look at numbers. Sometimes I look at my podcasting numbers. I did this morning. 2 days nobody downloaded, right? I was supposed to have a speaker on Saturday, but they had to reschedule, which they did not. All right. This phenomenon of contrast really set us thinking. Squarely before us was the question, how anonymous should an AA member be? Our growth made it plain that we couldn't be a secret society, but it was equally plain that we couldn't be a vaudeville circuit either. The charting of a safe path between these extremes took a long time. So this is where we should stop and be grateful that we didn't have to do this part. And you can avoid it, even though it's going on right now, okay? But I'm tired of recovering becoming a vaudeville circuit. And what is a vaudeville circuit? Well, back then, this would have been the circus, where you saw a lady with a beard, the tallest man, the boy that looks like an elephant, freaks. Freaks. I'm going to listen to that song next. By Live. It's called Freaks. It's an awesome song. As a rule, the average newcomer wanted his family to know immediately what he was trying to do. He also wanted to tell others who had tried to help him, his doctor, his minister, and close friends. As he gained confidence, he felt it right to explain his new way of life to his employer and business associates. When opportunities to be helpful came along, he found he could talk easily about AA to almost anyone. These quiet disclosures helped him lose his fear of alcoholic stigma and spread the news of AA's existence among community. Many a new man and woman came to AA because of such conversations. Though not the strict letter of the anonymity, such communications were well within its spirit. Right? But it came apparent that word of mouth method was too limited. Our work as such needed to be publicized. The AA groups would have to reach quickly as many despairing alcoholics as they could. Now, AA itself cannot do this, but the people in AA can go, and this is where the responsibility statement comes in, but AA members can go to hospitals and detoxes and things like that, lawyers, doctors, and explain to them how AA helped them so that they will send people to AA. Because there's a lot of misnomers about AA, and they tend to pile up. I'm a person that is more than happy to admit that AA is not the only way. It is the path that I chose. Okay. But there's a couple of paths. Okay. You're still going to do the work. It's just going to be presented to you differently, because you have different needs. Okay. But there's 5. There's not hundreds and hundreds. Okay. The multi-pathway to recovery are doctors and lawyers and judges and therapists and nurses that lead people to one of these 5 places. It is something I have been explaining to people for about a year now because they're misusing the multiple pathway to recovery. A recovery coach is not a pathway to recovery. It is not. It is a person that should help you find your pathway to recovery with one of these 5 things. That's what recovery coaching is. And it's a good thing utilized correctly, right? Just like anything. Consequently, many groups began to hold meetings which were open to interested friends in the public so that the average citizen could see for himself just what AA was all about. See, open meetings are only for the public to come in. Otherwise, the meeting should be closed. Yeah. See, let's say there's a club and they have 10 meetings a week. 2 of those should be open so that the public can come in. Otherwise, it should be closed. Opinion, just so you know. The response to these meetings was warmly sympathetic. Soon groups began to receive requests for AA speakers to appear before civic organizations, church groups, and medical societies. Provided anonymity was maintained on these platforms and reporters present were cautioned against the use of names, pictures, the result was fine. There we go. You're not going to be able to give your name. Now where are you going to get the credit? There we are. We're sacrificing. And there is no one that speaks for AA as a whole. Right? And it should be that way. You know, it's like when we're like, well, we're going to rewrite the first 164 pages. Well, how are we going to do that? See, the last time God picked. So how are we going to do this based on our own finite knowledge? It's like saying you're going to rewrite the Lord of the Rings. Don't do it. A lot of people complain that Lord of the Rings movie was so off from the book. And I was just happy to have a new story. I was. I appreciated the changes because I know that book so well that I was like, why is Aragorn saying Gandalf's line? All right. Anyway, then came our first few excursions into major publicity, which were breathtaking. Cleveland's Plain Dealer articles about us ran that town membership from a few into hundreds overnight. The news stories of Mr. Rockefeller's dinner for Alcoholics Anonymous helped double our total membership in a year's time. Jack Alexander's Saturday Evening Post piece made an AA a national institution. Such tributes as these brought opportunities for still more recognition. Other newspapers and magazines wanted AA stories. Film companies wanted to photograph us. Radio and finally television besieged us with requests for appearances. What should we do? As this tide offering top public approval swept in, we realized that it could do us incalculable good or great harm. Everything would depend upon how it was channeled. We simply couldn't afford to take the chance of letting self-appointed members present themselves as messiahs representing AA before the whole public. The promoter instinct in us might be our doing, and there's the thing. Okay, AA is full of promoters and salespeople. Almost every single person in AA is a salesperson. And it's funny, it doesn't matter what industry you are in. This is usually what you hear. It's full of alcohol. Well, every industry is. There's not an industry besides, and that includes treatment, recovery, detox. Yes, the people that work there, they're not recovered alcoholics. They are non-alcoholics and therefore go out and drink after, which is a very, very bad place for that type of thought process. Okay. But we're promoters and we can't help it. I can't help it. Okay. Why do you think I do this? So I don't go out and promote myself. This is an arena that satisfies a need for Dion. Yeah, I get to be the center of attention for a little bit. Okay? Yeah, it's selfish. It partly is. Then on top of it, what I get to do is help other people. Hopefully, because that makes me feel even more satisfied. But yeah, let's just call it what it is. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with it. So, all right. If even one publicly got drunk or was lured into using AA's name for its own purposes, the damage might be irreparable. At this altitude, press, radio, films, and television, anonymity, 100% anonymity was the only possible answer. Here, principles would have to come before personalities without exception. So let's use principles before personalities for what it's supposed to be used for. And stop using it as a love-like situation in your meetings. No, the principle before personality, okay, is the fact that we understand that we're going to be sacrificing some of the things for the greater whole. Yeah, that's what it's about. Okay, because we read it, we're like, principles would have to come before personalities. Okay, we're not talking about other people's personalities. We're talking about your personality. Now, not all of us. There are some people very quiet in AA. That's okay too, right? And we come in different shapes and sizes, just like anything else. But for the most part, we're promoters. Can't help it. Look how I can jump. Look at me, because we finally fucking belong, and it's exciting. It's exciting. I've been there. These experiences taught us that anonymity is real humility at work. See? Now, how am I going to provide humility for other people? I cannot do that. It is my own humility. I'm glad I'm hearing this right now, honestly. It is an all-pervading spiritual quality which today keynotes AA life everywhere. Moved by the spirit of anonymity, we try to give our natural desires for personal distinction as AA members, both among fellow alcoholics and before the general public. As we lay aside these very human aspirations, we believe that each of us takes part in the weaving of a protective mantle which covers our whole society, under which we may grow and work in unity. We are sure that humility expressed by anonymity is the greatest safeguard that Alcoholics Anonymous can ever have. All right. Well, thank you everybody for being here. It was good to see you. I hope that you have a great Monday. I love you. Peace out.